What's going on, boys? Thanks to our patrons and Fiverr customers, subscribe to our Patreon free for behind the scenes stuff, arm yourselves, life stuff. I use conflict as a focusing lens. The more stressed and opposed I feel, the more cornered I feel, the better I perform on all levels. But I got a cortisol high today, and it made me think about what this process is. So, as I mentioned, I'll use conflict as pre workout for stressful events, work stuff, etc. However, I noticed whenever I really need a bump, I will look at videos about prison or about cops. And on one level, I recognize why I go to those videos. You get to see what people want to do to you and the people who will be doing it. However, I didn't catch that I have been spending, or when I go to these videos, I spend most of my time reading the comments. And I read the comments because these comment sections are filled with people who don't do anything, who don't know anything about anything, have never dealt with the justice system, or probably any other difficulty as trying as something like the justice system is. And they are so quick to endorse the highest levels of cruelty. To me, prison is worse than death. I'd rather you shoot me in the mouth than send me to prison. And they're so quick to advocate and to vote for this worse than death cruelty. Again, not understanding the way the justice system works, not understanding the ways cops work, but be willing to advocate for these things and then vote to make them happen. They're the ones who are really going to give me a heart attack, because you can't fix anything when so many people want it and there are a lot of them. And they don't know what they're talking about, but they are so adamant about this. Adamant about inflicting suffering. And they are the most potent focusers because of how active they are, because of how many of them there are, and because you know there will be no way to teach them what's wrong with this without inflicting it on them. When you're innocent and you are wronged by the people who are supposed to be protecting the innocent, and they are lauded for doing so and cheered to do it again, it creates in you wild levels of energy. And when this energy is flowing through you, you have two options. Either you can't take it and you bow out or break or lower yourself so far as you can, hopefully to avoid something like this, except unless you're dead, that threat will always be there, or you harness it. And that's what we're talking about today. Because I think this fury that comes out of a response to injustice at an extreme level becomes an ethic. If you think your life doesn't have meaning, a feeling like this will give your life meaning, and it will give you the tools and the fortitude to pursue that meaning. And I think it starts because you feel alone. It is you against all of this, which is an impossible task, an insurmountable challenge, but for some reason, unlike with other tragedies or traumas, this feeling is trying to rise to meet the injustice, even though your single body can't handle all of it. Your vessel is too small to contain even the smallest fraction of this rage. Meaning, if you feel called to the challenge, you need to figure out a way to express this emotion or this energy, because if you try to use it all at once, you'll fail and nothing will change. Now, even if you do everything right, you'll probably end up changing nothing, and even if you do manage to change something on the smallest level, that change probably won't stick. But with this energy, with this dragon, you feel you could. All you need to do is do it right. Do it slowly, do it carefully, and do it by luring the system into doing what you want to do instead of by destroying or changing the system, which I don't think one person is capable of doing. And even if you do trick the dragon into biting itself, that isn't going to solve the problem. You need to think about your actions or what you want to accomplish exponentially. So when you've been wronged like this, and people want to wrong you again, what do you want? Knowing they are never going to stop. You want to teach people what they have inflicted on you or what they are inflicting on other people. Because they'll advocate for it so quickly, so strongly, until they've felt it, they understand what it is, and they live in fear knowing it could happen to them again. The exact same way you live. That's one of the reasons I was tossing around the idea of becoming a cop. I'm pretty sure I would enjoy it and I'd be good at it. But even if it takes 40 years, we are aiming even higher, so we're not going that route. It's deranged and sickening what people would like to do to one another, and then have the nerve to act like they are morally upright for doing it. Not even in spite of doing it, but these horrible things are what make people moral. It's sick. It's useful to look at human beings like water, or like the surface of a pond. Whenever anything happens, it's never just that event happened, there are ripples, and ripples of ripples. So on the smallest scale, we upset people. Ideally, people like the people you want to really fuck up, but anybody is fine. Because evil is like ricochet pissing. If you can't piss big on somebody right now, you piss small on somebody else, and then maybe they will end up pissing big on somebody else. For example, when we're arguing with people on YouTube, we are not just using them like pre-workout. We are intentionally upsetting them, hindering their ability to feel like everything is all right with the world. And that is the way the world works. There's very little right with the world, but it seems like most people are not comfortable being in that space. They would much rather be in their cloud of thinking whatever they think and everything lining up. So when you bar someone from entering that space, which isn't that hard, they'll help you, they want to be barred from that happiness space, that's human nature, odds are good if you get them mad enough, they will go out into the world and displace that anger elsewhere. Even if it's something small. It doesn't matter if it's something small. All you've done is start the echo, from which point it's very likely that anger will escalate into something and smash into someone somewhere down the line. And when you do this, you are recruiting people to your cause. Cutting somebody off might turn into 100 recruits for you. They might tell themselves they are above displacing anger, and maybe 3 of them will be. Maybe 3 of them understand how to process anger healthily, but 97 won't. And that's a large number. It's a large percentage. And it grows exponentially until that echo hits somebody who is either in a position of power who can really fuck somebody over, or someone who is about to have an encounter with power and will be so angry they won't have the sense to conduct themselves safely. And ideally, that person will be one of these couch sitters news watchers, politics engagers who wants to see a stronger force inflict suffering on people they don't have the ability to inflict suffering on. It's powerlessness. It's all powerlessness. We are all powerless. We make each other powerless. The goal is to inflict acute, lasting powerlessness on people who want to inflict acute, lasting powerlessness on people. And you can start doing that right now. If people don't want to allow you to feel safe, they want you to be miserable, in small ways you can take baby steps to ensuring everybody is miserable. Hatred is exponential. It was exponential before the internet. With the internet, it's gotten so much worse, and I think there is a boiling point it is possible to reach. But then there is the higher level. The systems and cultures that do these things to you don't need to be corrupted to do terrible things. The reason you are what you are and you're on the path you're on is because they're horrible. And they're excited to do horrible things. Phrased correctly, people will cheer for you when you say all the horrible things you'll use these systems to do to other people. Ironically, the worse you are, the easier it is to get into a position, a power position, from which you can do terrible things. It's not like power excludes you or excludes terrible people, it invites terrible people. Give power an idea of all the terrible things you want to do. Wet its whistle. You like humiliating people, you like disempowering people, you like wronging people generationally. That's great. You are the exact person power wants. And the worse you get, the easier it will be for you to climb. And this is where your energy comes in. That cornered feeling, that powerless feeling, that injustice ethic. What is a cocksucker who can't do anything for themselves, good or bad, going to be doing? Nothing. They're going to sit on their asses and express power and dominance vicariously with words and votes, never directly having a say in anything, but almost never directly being challenged either. It's a comfortable little purgatory of stagnation. Impotent stagnation. If you are on the path to tearing these sorts of people out of their little cells, you need to ask yourself every day, what have I done today to make myself better or more likely to get into a position of power? And I don't even mean world domination steps with this. I mean, what have you done outside the bare minimum that will equip you to take power or get you closer to power, help you understand how to use power or why you're using power, getting that reminder, that bump of cortisol today. Because it's shocking how close you can get to power and how quickly, if not take it, just by deciding you want to be involved, or you want power and are willing to do things to try to get it. It won't take you long to get close. And you would think people who have power are all these hyper-motivated, supernaturally focused people, and some are, to be sure. That's probably why things are as bad as they are, but not all of them. There are people who are weak and complacent, and you can move them out of their chairs. It is shocking to me how much unchecked power lies in the hands of petty bureaucrats, the pettiest bureaucrats. you can take that from them. And you can stay focused because of your injustice ethic. You are climbing so you're less likely to be hurt and disempowered. And you're climbing so you can teach people what disempowerment means, what injustice means. And as long as you frame it 5% nicer than I'm expressing it here, and let's say 50% more directed at something, even though you're not actually directed at anything in particular, people will cheer for you for doing it. By becoming what the dumb, complacent, shitty majority thinks is the avatar of their hatred, you get power for free and then you can abuse people. And because you are turning isolated people into statistics, and the majority still needs to feel like they cannot be challenged, and their hatred is being acted out, all you need to do to these individuals you victimize is paint them as someone who deserves what's being done to them. What will be done to the majority with enough time, but again, people aren't going to realize what you're doing because they are so fat and lazy and complacent and hateful. There was a newscaster. Someone made an indie song about a newscaster. We are such lazy crap we don't even notice hell itself rising up against us. That's the case. Except you are hell, showing people who want to inflict hell vicariously what hell is directly. And nobody deserves any better. People deserve bureaucratic, miserable, disempowered hell. We get exactly what we deserve. And it wouldn't even take a majority of people to be good at heart for things to change. All it would take is a motivated minority of people dedicated to goodness to make things change. But they don't exist. I'm connected to what's supposed to be one, and what I can tell you from firsthand experience with active charity is volunteering and donations and the cause, all the many causes, is they're just verbal bumper stickers. Like the beginning of American Psycho when Patrick Bateman is talking about all that's wrong with the world. Except most people don't understand or care, they probably don't care, that everything coming out of their mouth is meaningless. If you wanted things to change, you would organize and change things for the better. Instead, you have erected these institutions that are basically just business cards staffed by people used by wealthy people to launder money. Unless you're in a charity that's actually trying to do good work, in which case you go under rapidly. Fuck all of you. We deserve what we get and worse. The difference between you and me is I intend not to be complacent about my worsening of the situation. You don't care, and I'm learning people like me, care a lot. If you get severely wronged in life, stay alive, don't be stupid, sharpen yourself, bide your time, and one day, maybe, get into a position from which you can teach other people what's wrong with them experientially. And do that vicariously too, actually. That's double salt on the wound. We have to be living in hell. Or we have to be the creation of something terrible. Every other species, nature is brutal, don't get me wrong, but they can develop some kind of harmony. We are evil incarnate, and the idea we are or could be better is like doing drugs to ignore what we are. We exist to be punished for something, and AI will either mark the end of our punishment or the beginning of real punishment. But until the robot archons are here in force, we cannot expect them to do all the work. I'm gonna go have a heart attack. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.